I remember being told that God gives people children after marriage, and that's where babies come from. My mom was in high school when she became pregnant with me. I wondered if I was like baby Jesus in some weird way, and my mother was some glowing Renaissance virgin, or maybe I was more like Anakin Skywalker, and my mother carried me on her own, whatever that means, so I could one day restore balance to the galaxy. But unlike Anakin, I know my father. We have the same hair and eyebrows and nose. I visit him every few weekends, and I love him. My miraculous conception was only the first of many plot holes I saw in my early years. If God is real, why doesn't my father believe in him? If the tooth fairy isn't real, how come I'd wake up with money under my pillow at my grandma's house? Why shouldn't I talk about Jesus when I'm with my father's family, but we talk about him freely with my mom? As I grew between these two households, I developed a little voice in my mind saying do and don't. Most of the time, this voice held things in balance. Other times, it kept me silent. I'm now older than they were when they had me, and I have too many questions to stay silent.
It was a while ago. I was like 17 when you were conceived. It was prom night, which was hilarious. Me and Erica were good friends.
Shortly after or around the time I discovered that I was pregnant, I had figured that I would give you up for adoption because I thought like 17-year-olds can't raise kids. Like 17-year-olds don't make good moms. So one afternoon, Grandma Sue took me to my favorite restaurant at the time, Pizza Hut. And so I told her, I felt like it was sort of a noble decision of mine to decide to give you up for adoption. Probably I was like taking a giant bite of pizza while I said that. And actually, I remember Grandma Sue saying, you can give this baby for adoption. I'm sure that there's some lovely couple out there, that would love to raise this baby as their own. But I think if you want to raise this baby, you can.
In the beginning, I was like encouraging her to get an abortion. I was like,
Yeah.
to like consider getting an abortion. I know that she was very against it. And it was like the very beginning of my second semester of college when you were born. Yeah, I don't know, it just really changed my life. Because then after that, I was like going, I wanted to have a relationship with you ever since.
Okay, so part of me is feeling like, what the heck right now, I'm not gonna lie. But also, I can't imagine having a kid with my friends. Like, what a weird and awkward thing to happen. And it wasn't just my mom and my father, but also like I had my stepdad.
Your mom and I started dating when she was 7 months pregnant with you. So the reality of her being pregnant and you imminently being born was understood by me as part of the equation. The full reality, of course, of dating and entering into a serious relationship with someone who was about to have a baby wasn't necessarily something, if I'm being honest, that I didn't, it's not like I thought through it rationally.
Created is the first verb of the Bible. God created, the heavens and the earth. And so that ability to create is a God-given thing. It's a God-given gift. I've said this a lot, but like, it's not enough for me to love God. Like, you need to love God.
Like the dichotomy of our two worldviews is actually pretty stark, I would say. My family, I guess, is from like a more leftist, like Marxist worldview. I would say I'm very like free-spirited and like free-thinking and kind of like not necessarily rooted in any community way of being.
There was a transition period. So when you came home, you were much more like anxious and wild. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, it was a different Kaylee, like when you came home, saying the wildest things that I was like, what? Stuff about the police, stuff about Republicans. You would come home with like stickers, almost like propaganda stickers. Like, I don't know how to describe it. And I was just sort of like, what is happening?
From a very early age, they were raising you to be Christian, and it was really concerning to me. Like when you were really little, I remember you talking about Jesus, and like you used to be talking to us about it much more. But I remember saying, something like, if you keep talking about Jesus, you're not going to get any dessert or something like that one time.
I remember Grandpa Michael telling me that you described the Trinity to him, and Daddy Jacob complaining that you kept saying he was going to hell, maybe, or something. I don't know.
One time when we brought Lucy there, Lucy had said like something to you about how Daddy Jacob doesn't believe in Jesus. I can't remember what you said, but it was something like, not everybody, believes in Jesus or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You were just kind of like, just aware of that type of stuff.
I didn't doubt at all their love and like enthusiasm for Kaylee, So I just had a very hard time as a mom with all the other things.
I think at the end of the day, we all were sort of making some compromises. It was not necessarily 100% what any of us would have wanted. Our goal was your good. If we share that goal in common, then our purposes, what we're trying to work together on, is still you and what's good for you.
I'm talking about all this conflict of ideas and stuff, but really, in our actual relationship, there was very little conflict. Like we were able to navigate these things, and like it wasn't really like something that impeded us from having a relationship with you. Yeah, we have different worldviews, but it's like, who cares? We all love you, so that's what really brought us together.
We've been tiptoeing around this my whole life. I wish I had been more honest sometimes, like more open about what I do think, because, my parents are right. There was no real conflict, but it's because we didn't talk about it. And it's weird to be someone in your mind and then only be part of that person out loud, But maybe I wasn't the only one carrying it. Like I'm seeing this more now, and I'm not sure that I ever thought of this way before. I felt like I was the one walking the tightrope, like keeping the balance or whatever. But I wasn't the one worried for my child. I was just tentative about saying certain things. I feel like it would have been okay.
At the end of the day, I see that as actually a strength that you were able to be exposed to different things and kind of, you ultimately have to make up your own mind anyway.
Was there a sense of tension in your mind?
I'd be curious to ask you that question.
I mean, I could turn most of those questions back on you and ask for more of how you have seen those things actually play out in your life and your own. So,
well, that's why I'm making this film.
I guess my parents are people too. I'm realizing now that I wasn't a miracle, I was an interruption. But they welcomed me in spite of this. They compromised for my good in spite of their conflicting beliefs. So, maybe I'm not baby Jesus or Anakin Skywalker, but I think everyone feels a touch of destiny about them when they're 20 and they discover all this profound, like, whatever in the world. I wonder what it means to replace in spite of with because. I'm not the Kaylee I am today in spite of my ideologically opposed families, but because of them. I'm learning to stop dividing myself and starting to ask myself who I really am when no one's watching. And not just who I am, but who God is. As a kid, I had this quiet certainty that he was real. I couldn't really explain it, but I felt it. But still feelings fade, and I need more than that. So I'm asking these questions about science and history and truth and in my family. And this doesn't solve everything. I still wrestle with doubt and anxiety and pride. And I wonder if I'm going to look back on this in like 20 years and be like, you're an idiot. But I feel kind of okay with that. I know that I'm at this point where it's not all answers. It's actually more and more questions, and I don't know if that's going to stop. I don't know if this is just kind of how it will be for the rest of my life. But I don't know. I still live in tension, but I don't live in pieces anymore.